We're good.
Okay. Call us back into the meeting. So, discussion about the adjustment school calendar. So, lots of opinions about this. So, before I give my diatribe about it, is anyone want the floor to I guess the decision now is, do we want to take up hearing all the stuff for that? Or do we want to do something different because we might not have all the information that we need to make a decision tonight? I think that's where we start at. It's like, is it worth hearing all the information that wants to be heard now, or to look at our policy of how we can form something to get that going forward where all stakeholders are in the process of it? So that's my question right off the bat. I guess we go to you. Can I ask you how you wanted this kind of discussion to do? Give us what you're thinking, so that we have everything on the table.
Tess has done a really good job collecting preliminary information. So we wanted to just have that ready. If you wanted to hear it, do you need a work session? I think equally from us, like, to make the best decision. What do you guys need so that we can work to collect it? Do you want to hear anything tonight, or do you want to dedicate more time at a future date with some guidance for school administration?
Do you want it where you have employees and other stakeholders in the same room together? Do you want
I think there's some stuff we need before we even get to that. Personally, a lot of this stuff in this packet is stuff we saw spring or something, like the initial part of the packet was, I think you've seen. We've received as a board several sort of similar opinions to some emails from parents and some emails from other teachers who are not in favor of it, so those are not included in this package. I feel like there's a lot of anecdotes about, gee, this is great, I like it. And as one of the parents mentioned, I don't see a lot of data, like, because that's kind of what we asked for the first time around, was that we're like, okay, the only time I've seen, a lot of times doing a 40 work week is a money saving thing. And I don't think that that's what the goal is in this particular proposal. And if that were the reason, then it's a different conversation. I feel like this conversation has been driven a lot by teachers, and I understand their frustrations. But I still am not convinced that we have any evidence that we would need to support this moving forward. Like I said, a lot of these anecdotes, I mean, some, these parent comments that, oh, I can travel with my kids more, I can take my kids on Fridays, not go bad. That's a very privileged set of parents that can say that. And I don't feel like that's a realistic expectation for many of the parents. And for our kids. And so my biggest concern is, as some of the parents addressed, and we've said as a board before, is this the best thing for our students? I understand the frustration of the teachers, and we need to figure out a way to support them as best we can.
Can you tell me what kind of data you were directly talking about?
Well, so, there was a study reference that, these 4-day work weeks are beneficial to, I want to see that 4-day school weeks are beneficial to students.
Learning.
So they're learning it. And, socio-emotional is important too, but, with all the learning gaps we are already tackling, for many of our students, especially our most at-risk students, more time at home is not always going to be for both our socio-emotional at-risk students and our academically at-risk students, who are often the same students. Being at home more is not going to advance them academically or socially. So, like I said, I understand the frustration of teachers dealing with behaviors and problems, and obviously the financial stuff is not getting better right now. But I also feel like, and maybe you have more information about this now, but like, what is
Like
this?
that page you just flipped on was a good one to see how many kids are gone on Friday.
Right, and compared to what though? Like, so how many kids are gone other days of the week? I mean, I understand it's more on Fridays. I get that. And I think back when we talked about this in the spring, is Thursday the new Friday? Because you're always going to have a tendency to be like, you know, and I'm lucky enough that the college where I work in the summers, those of us who are on staff get Fridays off in summer. Well, guess what? I miss my Thursdays than I normally would because I'm gonna take a longer weekend. And so, I mean, I'm not saying that these problems aren't valid.
No, and
So-
I'm not saying they're, like,
Concerns aren't,
all angles are great angles, and I
Yeah.
want you to know, like, I don't want you guys to think that we are ever just looking at it from this end, like, your guys' input is so valuable too, because you have students here, and we take it all into consideration, and all of it, some of it's positive and some of it's negative, I'm just putting it out there.
Right.
I think it's hard too when, as parents, we might not know like seat hours, so an elementary kid, seat hours, 90 seat hours, your elementary kid right now is at over 1,000 seat hours, so if I break that down, that's about 15 extra days that your elementary kid is already sitting.
Right.
And so instruction,
Yeah.
so there's a lot that goes to it that would be great for the
Yeah.
educational setting of that's happening in the school.
So in the proposal that, you know, that's on here, if you were moving to a fully 4-day school week, is that any adjustment in the length of what we're already doing in a school day, for example? Like, so, you know, many, many years ago, the Dallas School District went to a 40 week because the financial thing during a big problem, and they made the day longer in order to get their seat hours. That's, for our elementary students, that's a crazy long day.
It would be 10 minutes,
Already a very long day for
it'd
elementary.
be 10
students.
minutes longer if you went for a true 4-day next school year.
Mhm.
You did that, it'd be a 10 minute
Right.
day.
Yeah, so I've been dominating, somebody else.
No,
Anybody else have any?
I agree with Anne. I think we talked about this, I don't know what month exactly, but this spring, May something, we talked about this. We decided that this was not going to be the best time to try and implement something new. We have, you know, all new board, we have new administration, we have so many things that we're trying to get our feet under us to add something else big like this, and this is big. This was not the best time to do that, but what we did suggest at that time was that we go back and look at how else we can support the teachers. And I don't know if we've done any of those things. I know that we've lost more EAs than we had, and that's not supporting the teachers. So what are we doing to support the teachers? That's what we asked for the first time. Let's figure out how else we can assist and what else can we do? And I felt like we went backwards instead of forward. So I'm a little frustrated because we already said, this isn't the right time. It's not that it's a no, it's that this is not a good time to do that, but let's put our heads together and do everything we can to support the teachers and our classified staff that need the help.
I think that, yeah, I think at the spring, we're like, new board, new administration, and we were kind of, at that time, we were thinking, let's take a year to look at this
Exactly.
proposal and get all the information, and now all of a sudden it's, you know, I think, you know, the same folks were asking for it in the spring are asking for it again, and that's understandable, because
They didn't get any help.
They didn't get what they.
I mean,
they didn't get
we
what they
didn't, I mean,
needed.
I
we
think
have
that's the feeling, they don't feel
facilitated that
like they
either.
got help and that I mean, coming from my teachers, it sounds like because perhaps you guys wanted to table it, they weren't ready to table it yet,
Yeah,
and that's hard.
and I'm not saying, I mean, I don't feel like we're tabling it, I feel like we said back then that we needed more time, and in the time between then and now, nothing has really, like, we haven't really advanced, I mean, there is more information here, but still not quite the detail and like the financial repercussions in terms of bus drivers and other staff and like.
And there's some surveys too in your guys, in the, if you got a chance to go through that, you can see some of those. and all
Dave,
of
you
the
got
comments.
anything?
Yeah, we didn't print out there's surveys in your guys' electronic board.
Oh, okay.
Otherwise it was
I
gonna
didn't
be
see that.
a book.
I think I would voice too that now is not the right time. I have 7 studies, including the University of Oregon one, and I've read them. Some of them are hard to read, and they're not shining examples of a 4-day week. So I think, in my opinion, right now, especially, we have more important things that, it's not the right word, but we have some things that we need to be dealing with. But I think this can be looked at later, but I don't think now's the time, and from what I've gone through, I don't see anything where it's going to it.
John?
On board with Dave and Jana. I mean, I'm just kind of coming into this. But I think just waiting and trying to target what we're trying to target right now with just helping the staff out, deal with that and explore it down the road.
So my opinion is about in the same vein as that, but one of the things that we can do that is the power of the committee. So we have policy where the board can say, let's start an exploratory committee. And that's what I tried to do in the spring. Like, can we just start an exploratory committee to see what the needs are? And then if we got to a 4-day school week as the answer, then that would be in pocket with this, but are there things that can happen before that? I think of it in terms of football game, you're on the 20-yard line, you throw 4 Hail Marys, but you could have strategically got down the field far easier because you had the time to do it. So my recommendation would be to have the board approve a committee to see what we're dealing with within the staff. So you have staff, you have stakeholders, parents, part of that, and they say, we're going to evaluate so that the board doesn't have to sit around and do that for a workshop session. They can meet together within public meeting laws and come to a recommendation to the board for what that looks like. If they get to a 4-day school week or 4.5-day school week through that process, like, okay, it's supported a lot, but there's probably something in the middle where they can say, here's our recommendation. We need staffing here, here, and here. That affects the budget, and then we pivot and help in the immediate needs rather than throw the Hail Mary 4 times in a row. So that's the way I'm thinking about it. Any opinions on that? Okay, so yeah.
So what type of committee are you thinking? So like several,
Yeah, so we have to come up with a scope
yeah.
of what they're for.
Okay.
So our policy says that the board can approve a committee, and then once that committee is approved with their scope of, we can name it 4-day exploratory committee, and then we give them an end date. Once the authority has been given to the committee, the board chair can appoint people, and I promise to make it as diverse as it can be. If you want me to, or we can get 2 board members to form a committee as an ad hoc committee to bring a recommendation to the board of what, if it's teacher supported, that's blaring, which it is.
Right.
Sounds,
Yeah,
not all teachers.
That's true.
elementary teachers. Some of that's blaring. Then forming a committee to see what teacher support looks like. And I'd have to come up, we can have base language of what that looks like, but technically we're supposed to come up with a scope for that committee and their start term and their end term, so we can't have standing committees. So that's what I would recommend, is that we say, let's start a committee with staff, stakeholders, parents, let them explore what's happening within the school district to where we can help teachers with a recommendation of the board, because we don't have all the information. They come up with things that if it ends up at a 4-day, then that's the overall recommendation. I highly doubt it'll end up there, but you never know. But I think the teachers are saying, Yeah, we have to vote on it, but it'd be, we're being heard in this instead of, let's just look at this in a year. We've got to do something, I think.
No, I mean, I think this, not like we're gonna ignore this and pretend it isn't there for a whole other year, that's not my vision at all, but it was more like, okay, let's take our time and make thoughtful decisions, and like you said, get everybody's
So it's
input.
more of a staff support workshop more than a formal. I mean,
Yeah,
I think that's where it
Looking
should
at options.
start. Yeah, and look at what are all the things that we need to get going.
Yeah.
And because there may be people who don't want to speak up, that might feel more comfortable, you know, with that aspect, so.
Well, it's like even like little things, like in the PE requirements, like one of the big complaints we've heard is some classes aren't getting enough PE. Here's another example, okay, then we'll get even less, like it'll be even more out of sync if you went with the 4-day model. So I think for me, if we're looking at specifically the 4-day or 4.5-day school week, what I need to see is a more specific explanation of like, okay, it would be the same hours of the day for every student, but on Fridays, would there be daycare? Would there be something? How does that affect our financials? Like if we went, like if we were going to a 4-day week, then we could afford to hire another aide because we wouldn't be spending as much money on Fridays. Like that's kind of the things that I need to see to understand how it logistically works. Because I'm always thinking things like, well, what does that mean? And we talk about the financial oversight of this. And then also, like you said, you know, is that, you know, some of these are just straight up, you know, some of these models are probably straight up 4-day weeks and everybody gets Friday off. That's not, I don't think, what we were proposing, but the teachers need more time to prep and meet. So, yeah, I think more of a detailed framework would be helpful to me. And then, like Tim suggested, some kind of committee to explore various options to support teachers, and that there has to be somebody in that group who can answer financially if any of, like you can create a committee where they're like, we need to hire five new aides, and then Jason's gonna be like, no, you don't have any money, like you can't do that. So it needs
Yeah, that comes to the
detail.
financial piece that they're talking about, you're absolutely right. It's like looking at what we have and where it's going now. Are there any areas that fit the goals better as we find out what the goals are to what we really need? Because, you know, a lot of it is set in stone, so we don't have a lot of wiggle room, but maybe we do have wiggle room somewhere to pull out. But I would support a committee.
Okay.
I kind of like the idea of the ad hoc with a couple of board members, so they can really hear firsthand what everybody's saying and be in that room with them and really get to be able to ask questions of whoever else is in that room and comes to speak. So we really have, as a board, a really good feeling from where people are coming from. I would
And it would be
I would
helpful
like
to have teachers from various grade levels. Obviously,
Yeah.
there's some, and also teachers who might not be fans of it.
Yeah.
Also on that committee, so that it's not, and same with, there are some parents who clearly think it's a great idea, and that's their right as well. So they need to be represented so that we make sure that it's a balance for the folks who, so that everybody feels like have some input, and maybe they'll hear something that changes their mind in one way or the other.
John, you got any last?
No.
Okay, so this is how we're moving forward with a committee or a decision on 4-day, 4.5-day school week. So I'm gonna make a motion to start instructional support committee. And the purpose of that is, the purpose of this committee is to advise the administration. By the way, I didn't come with this, I'm using ChatGPT. So, well, I'm using Gemini. But it helps it do it quickly in the parameters I gave it. So an instructional support committee. The purpose of this committee is to advise the administration and school board on ways to support and enhance teacher effectiveness. The committee will focus on identifying challenges and recommending strategies related to the teaching aspects of the profession to improve instructional practice and professional satisfaction. So what that does is that if it ends up to where the recommendation is a 4-day school week, then that's what they recommend. But starting this committee gives me the authority to compile that committee and make sure everybody knows what's going on. And I'll make sure that it's diverse. The scope of responsibilities, the committee is charged with gathering feedback from instructional staff about their support needs, reviewing district provided tools, resources, and professional development, researching and recommending strategies to improve the teaching environment, and identifying barriers to effective instruction and proposing solutions. This committee is advisory and will not address individual personnel matters or topics covered by the collective bargaining agreement. 3, membership. The committee shall be composed of a diverse group of stakeholders, including teachers from various grade levels, building administrators, and district level representation. 4, accountability. The committee will gather information and develop formal recommendations. These recommendations will be presented to the superintendent, who will then review and forward them to the school board for consideration. That sound like a decent framework for that? Okay,
You'll
so
email that to me?
yeah, I'll just make one. All we need to do is say we'll start a committee for instructional support. So I make a motion that we start a committee under board authority for instructional support. Anna seconds that. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, motion passes unanimously. All right, any last things? Okay, with that, I will adjourn the meeting.
When do we want that to start?
I'll do it ASAP.
Yeah.
What you-
We're all kind of on the same page coming in. Yeah, it's like, oh, shit.
All right, that's fine. How much you could email some of the staff? So that they can-
Yeah.
And it's really easier to just answer the financial questions in the moment.
If you click the email.
You're absolutely right, I agree.